What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey episode number 125, presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinny Parisi, and the last thing I did in Illinois before right now was this show last week. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he's rocking a Vegas Golden Knights hat for the first time since the whole Bedard thing. Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You want to know something crazy?
Yeah, I like
It's
crazy things.
I thought we were closer to the NHL season because of how fast our summer was going by, which we are close, but I thought we were even closer than we were.
Why do you say that? I feel like we're like on top of the season getting ready to start.
Like a little less than 2 months to go. I thought we were like 4 or 5 weeks out. We're like 7 weeks out.
Dude, dude.
I'm talking about regular season, not preseason.
Yeah, but like, why do you look at it that way? Enjoy training camp and
It's just
preseason.
because
You're
summer
gonna
has
get
been going by so quick.
it has been, but you're like in the preseason, you're guaranteed to see Korchinski play. You're probably gonna see Oliver Moore play.
I
Like
hate preseason of any sport with a passion.
I do too, except hockey.
I really don't even watch it. I'm going to be honest
I
with you.
loved the last year when the Blackhawks played the Red Wings. Korchinski had that stretch pass to Connor or who am I? Cole Gutman. He was the star of the
Yeah,
preseason hockey. It hits for me. I don't know why.
I preseason football, baseball. I can't stand it. I
Well,
really can't.
baseball has the least amount of regulars playing in spring training.
It's
There's
like
like three guys that are going to be on the team, and then the rest are Walmart baggers.
you're so pumped. Yeah, they won, they won. It doesn't mean anything.
No, I don't.
We could have fielded the team and played it, and I would have just enjoyed it just as much, if not more.
I don't see that. That's maybe where our brains are different. I don't give a shit about wins and losses. I like if the Devils lose to the freaking Sabres in the preseason, I do not care.
It's like
I,
cool. Korchinski scored 8 goals. Cool. I mean,
that's what I'm
you
excited about.
scored against backups and third stringers. Congratulations. Like pat on the
Dude,
back. I
those
can't wait. Like no,
those backups and
I
third
can't
stringers
I
are 10
can't
times
stand
better.
it. I
Those
cannot stand it.
those backups and third stringers are 10 times better than anybody he would play with or against in the Seattle Thunderbirds.
It's just a shame. If I created my own sports league, there would be no preseason.
All right, I don't want you celebrating. Bedard could have a sick preseason game. I don't want you celebrating. I don't want you to be excited. I want you to turn it off.
I probably won't have it on.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm so excited to see the Devils prospects play. The only ones that won't play are the college kids. You're not going to see Nazar play for the Blackhawks in the preseason, but you'll see Oliver Moore. Or no, you won't see Oliver Moore. He's going to college. You'll see freaking Bedard. You'll see Korchinski. I'm not positive Korchinski's going to make the Blackhawks. I wouldn't let him make the Blackhawks if it were me. He'd be playing in Rockford to start the season if it were up to me. But like, dude, oh my God. You see guys that they're full strength, healthy, kind of a little bit less hitting, but it still more or less looks like hockey. You're going to see a story like Cole Gutman. Buddy fucking Robinson will probably play in some preseason games. Oh man, I'm
Oh,
pumped.
great! Can't wait.
I'm pumped. I literally can't wait. I'm gonna watch every single. I'll do the watching for you, and I'll report
That's
back
right.
on the show. Because it's almost like to me, it's like getting excited for watching Korchinski play for the Thunderbirds. I watched every highlight of that kid in the playoffs last year with the Thunderbirds, the Memorial Cup.
I like when games have meaning, though.
I understand that. That part I do understand.
I want meaningful games, like the last 50 games of the MLB season when you're in that race for the postseason. They're meaningful games. I don't
I
like when you play games that mean nothing.
I totally understand what you're saying in that aspect.
And
To
I
me, the preseason or spring training is about watching individuals.
and I get how important the preseason is, obviously. It's just not for me.
It's not entertaining.
No, and I want entertainment. I want excitement. The reason why I love sports so much is that feeling I get when I root on a team and the announcers, how they get so invested, and when there's the game's on a line and you need that overtime goal like that. That's why I fall in love with sports, and I don't get that in the preseason.
I understand. I
But I understand how important it is.
maybe I'm just obsessed with prospects these days because that's the only time you'll get to see a lot of them.
Yeah,
Like teams like, oh my God, watching Columbus in the preseason is going to be a delight because it's going to be like watching. It's going to be like hopping in a time machine, going 3 years into the future. Oh, the Coyotes in the preseason. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch Bedard and Korchinski, and Kamesa will probably play a lot in the preseason for the Blackhawks. I don't think he's going to make the team out of camp, but he'll probably make his NHL debut at some point this season. And those are the types of things that I look for.
I hear you.
How's Luke Hughes looking? Can't wait to see that. Like, Devin Levi, the goaltender for Buffalo, how's he looking in the preseason? A lot of I think in hockey more than any other sport, it is kind of like a prelude to what you're going to see in the regular season, because the Devils randomly last year had this sick preseason and it carried into the regular season, and all the guys that were scoring in the preseason continued scoring in the regular season. And it's like, whoa, this team.
I get it.
But to me, it's about players. I don't care if they lose. The only time I kind of like when they win is if they do the shootout, because if you win the shootout, then your players, they played well. That to me kind of like
right.
But I've only been to one preseason game.
NHL?
Yeah.
I've been to a preseason football game.
Yeah, we went to one together.
I've been to more than one, because that wasn't the one I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, do you remember going against the Chiefs?
Yeah.
But I saw the Blackhawks play the Capitals in the preseason. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. But, speaking of announcers getting excited and going crazy in hockey games, let's head on over to period number 1. Frank, forgive me for pronouncing his name probably wrong. I never got a real understanding on how to say his name. I probably should have looked it up before we hopped on air. But an announcer passed away over the last week or so, and it's one that was really, really good in the NHL, in the history of the NHL. Of course, Buffalo Sabres announcer. Is it Rick Jeanneret?
I assume it's Jeanneret.
Jeanneret. Oh,
that's my guess.
Oh, I don't know if he was French. I mean, Jeanneret, that makes sense. But, he was a very prolific, and I would say he was an outstanding announcer in NHL history. I know Mr. Joey Parisi. He shits on a lot of NHL announcers. And when we found out the news about this man passing away, even Joey was like, damn, he was awesome. And I remember when Jack Eichel scored his first career NHL goal, he went, Eichel! Jack Eichel!
I watched that clip yesterday. That's funny you mentioned that.
It is funny. And he had the famous call from back in the day when Buffalo beat the Rangers. I think it was the Rangers they were playing. And he goes, Mayday! 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 Brad May! Brad May scored the overtime goal. I remember Brad May. Good player. But, just awesome, synonymous with Buffalo Sabres hockey over the last handful of decades. The last goal he ever called was a Casey Middlestat overtime winner. So he's clearly been around a long time. He's been around recently. I think he retired last year or 2021. He's a recently retired NHL announcer, and man, he gave it all he got in this life.
He's a broadcasting legend. If you have a good announcer, that makes the sport you're watching even more interesting. If you have a legendary announcer, that makes the sport feel like nothing else you've ever felt before. He was the voice of the Sabres for nearly 50 years. I mean, his calls were so great that he earned a spot in the Sabres Hall of Fame, the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, and the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like, that right there tells you how good of an announcer he was. And yeah, he did retire at the end of the 21-22 season, but his presence never left the Buffalo Sabres, and it definitely never will. But yeah, it was interesting because I was watching some of his best calls yesterday, and that was one of them on the list. I think it was number 10, the Eichel one, of his top 10 best calls. And I was getting chills watching it because of how great the calls were. And I love a good announcer with some great calls. So he will be missed, and his legacy will not be forgotten.
Absolutely. I have a take. I don't think there are ever going to be announcers like Rick Jeanneret ever again, or Pat Foley.
You don't think so?
Where guys have like catchphrases or like, Doc, hit the post with the shot. That just doesn't exist anymore. I'm looking at all the like newer announcers in the NHL right now. Bill Spalding. Bill Spalding's great. He's the Devils' new announcer. He replaced Steve Cangelosi. He's great. He's awesome. I love the sound of his voice. He calls the game well, but he don't have any like catchphrases or anything like that that's going to stick him out above any of the other announcers. Same thing with Vosters. He's a good announcer. He calls the game well. He gets excited when the Blackhawks score. He doesn't have big save made by Crawford. Hawks win. Hawks win. No, that just doesn't exist anymore across the whole league. I honestly think the days of like a legendary announcer being unique in their own way, it's kind of dying. Every guy's the same vanilla, call the game properly and include analytics and, just kind of, like I said, kind of just like be vanilla. It's like, it's not a bad thing. They're still all great at their job, but none of them, Bill Spalding's not better than Foster's. Foster's isn't better than Bill Spalding. Where back in the day when each team kind of had their own unique guy, the Devils had Doc and the Hawks had Foley and the Sabres had Rick. It's like you could kind of rank them based on how much you like them. Now they're all just kind of equal. The newer guys.
Do you think that comes with time though? Like you have to age into that? Because everybody you mentioned were like broadcasted for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes stuff like that you kind of like got to age into, like a fine wine. It gets better over time.
It could be, but Brad May's goal 30 years ago, did it sound very different to you than Jack Eichel's first NHL goal? That's the thing. Like,
no, but 30 years ago, he was still 20 years into broadcasting. He did it for 50 years.
That's true. That is true. You make a good point, Frank. Maybe these guys will eventually start to figure it out and become a little bit more entertaining. But I do hope it's not the idea that I had, where like the way they're trained now keeps them away from going out there and being unique. Because definitely, I hope it leans more towards what you're saying, where guys kind of like figure out that, hey, if I want to be a legend, I have to stick out. I have to make myself different than everybody else. So rest in peace, Rick Jenere. We are going to miss you dearly. The Buffalo Sabres community will mourn all season long, I'm sure. And they're going to make it into the playoffs in your honor this year. I know it.
That's probably going to happen. It's stuff like that's weird that it happens like that all the time.
And they're like right on the cusp of like finally. I think Buffalo is like New Jersey last year. It might not be this year. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't. But I don't see them sneaking into the playoffs in their first year making it in the playoffs. Like last year, if they would have got in, they kind of would have proved me wrong because like I think Buffalo just goes from not making the playoffs for 11 straight years to they are a shoo-in for the playoffs by February.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go from 0 to 100. Even though last year kind of was, they missed by 1 point, I think, or 2.
Yeah.
But
it's possible.
Big things are coming for Buffalo. They have everything they need. If Levi is good. If Levi is a good goalie, they have one of the best defensive pairs in the league. Dahlin's a top 10 defenseman. Power's probably a top 20 defenseman. And by next year, they might be both top 10.
Mm-hmm.
You could separate them and have an Olympian on every defensive pair. That'd be hilarious. Tage Thompson is just a dog. I mean, there's plenty of superstars there. I love Dylan Cousins' game. Unreal player. They freaking took Zach Benson in the first round this year. I couldn't believe he fell to them. I'm like, he was a guy I would take 5th overall last year, and Buffalo got him. I like where that team's going. So Rick Jenere is going to be watching from upstairs, rooting on a really good team, I think.
I agree. They're coming.
They are coming. You know who else is coming, but not right away? Your all-time favorite NHL player. He went on Instagram last week. I think it was Thursday or Friday. He goes on Instagram, right? And we don't hear from Taves very often. A lot of the things you hear about Taves are through other people. Taves went on his own Instagram and gave a nice thank you letter to the city of Chicago. And he didn't do this right after the season ended. I kind of expected something like that, more like when the Hawks and Taves announced that he won't be back this season. But he took a long time. He went onto Instagram and he made this little nice goodbye to Chicago. And that's basically was the entirety of the post. I'd like to thank everybody. It's been a great time. We've created lots of legendary moments here in the city. It'll always be my home, blah, 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 blah. Everything, politically correct that you say after a career like that about a city. Then a couple hours go by and he puts out another Instagram post where he explains that he is not retiring from the National Hockey League, which has kind of been a common thing in the month of August. We've seen some pretty good centers retire in the last couple of weeks. He's just going to step away from hockey a little bit, take some time to make sure he's 100% healthy from long COVID and the immune virus that he's been dealing with for the better part of the last 3 years. And he will be back in the NHL at some point. We don't know when. He could take the entire season off. He could miss the first couple months. He could sign a week after opening day if he's got the itch. We just know he is coming back. We just don't know when. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, this is an interesting story for me, and one that I kind of find a little suspicious, to be honest with you. He announced he's not fully retiring, and this is what his statement said on Instagram for those who didn't see it or are unfamiliar with the situation. He says, "I cannot deny my love for the game of hockey and still feel the passion for competing at my highest level. However, these last few seasons have been very difficult considering my health challenges. My focus is to give myself the time and space to fully heal and enjoy life to the fullest once again." You want to know what I think this is? I just honestly think this is a way to contemplate his decision on retiring. He doesn't want to make that decision right now. And I don't know if you could take a year off and come back and compete at that highest level that he's talking about. The first time when he came back from his health scare that he had, he was not the same. The past 2 seasons, he's not been the same Taves. Taking another year off or a couple months off, it just, in my eyes, it doesn't make sense that by doing that, you're going to help yourself. To me, it's only going to require you to work harder to get to that level that you want to get to again, right? It just, I don't know. There's just something about it here. You know, we know that Kyle Davidson announced last season that the Blackhawks will not be renewing his contract. He'd be a UFA, but I just don't see a world where Taves comes back and plays after all this time off again. That's my take on it. I think he retires. I just think this is his opportunity of, I don't want to close the door. I'm going to shut it, not all the way, and contemplate on a decision. I would not be surprised if 3 months he says, "I've decided I want to retire from the NHL."
It's a very interesting take. Did you see what he did over the weekend?
Mm-mm.
He played in Marian Hossa's
Oh, I did.
final goodbye game that they played in
Yeah.
Slovakia. Duncan Keith
I
was
knew
there
that.
as well.
Yeah.
The logo was sick. It was the number 81 with like
Mhm.
some kind of Slovakian
I do
crown or
remember
something,
that
and
now.
it had
Yeah.
the Blackhawks feathers. Sick sweater. I would buy one. I do think Taves is going to come back, and I'll tell you why. I do remember when Justin Williams did the exact same thing. He was with Washington, Mr. Game 7. Holy crap, he's awesome. They don't lose a Game 7 at all, ever. And, you know, they won the Stanley Cup with him there. I think he was there when they won the Stanley Cup. He was definitely a big part of things. And then there was the year where he took off. He wasn't retiring, but he was going to miss the first couple months of the season. And then he signed right before the play, like not right before the playoffs, but after the new year with the Carolina Hurricanes, I think it was the team that he originally started
Mhm.
with. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on Taves. I think he scored a lot of goals last year. I think
Yeah.
15 goals, 16 goals. That's
He
not
had like
like
30-something points.
yeah, it's not
Like,
terrible. It's a good third line player, especially
not his
playing.
highest level, though, that he's talking about.
No, but he's never going to get to that again if he's delusional, if he thinks he is. He won close to 60% of his faceoffs.
Yep.
He's very, very good and can contribute in a lot of different ways besides points.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, what if it went McDavid, Draisaitl, Taves? What if it went Crosby, Malkin, Taves? What if it went Hughes, Heischer, Taves? I mean, this guy has some options in the NHL still. I think. What if it went McKinnon, Taves, Johansson? You know, or McKinnon, Johansson, Taves, however you want to line that up. Because I think Johansson has some offensive upside still. Like, dude, he's got some options to go have a chance to win. If I were him, I'd wait for Patrick Kane and I'd go sign in Edmonton with both of them. Because then it's like all Edmonton would be all in at that point. McDusty and Draisaitl could lead them to a Stanley Cup now. Imagine if they added that kind of experience and Patrick Kane didn't have to worry about defensive liability or anything like that because he'd have McDavid on his line. Like that would be really cool. That's what I'm rooting for. I hope Taves comes back for one more round. He deserves to play in a final game where people give him the right salute, not just a team salute. You know, he's probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. I just think he deserves better than that. And I hope he does come back for one more round. Go play on Colorado. It'd be funny if Patrick Kane signed with Edmonton and Jonathan Taves signed with Colorado. Then Kane would sign with Kane and Taves would sign with Taves.
I just want to make sure that the health concerns that he's citing, he doesn't feel the need like he has to come back. Like he should be focusing on that. And if he thinks that this time off is going to help that, I think this is the right decision. He needs to put that first, and that's why, like, dude, put your health first. There's no need to come back. You've proved what you had to in the NHL.
Yeah, let me make it very clear. If he's not healthy, stay away. I can't see how he's not after the way last season ended. Like, he was awesome in that final game against Philly.
Yeah.
And they almost damn near, I mean, if they won that game, they probably don't get Bedard. Right? Like, and
Yeah.
he missed a shot in overtime. Provorov ended up winning it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I thought Taves was a beast in that game, and I was like, there's no way he's not coming back. So if he's healthy, we'll see. But it's good to hear from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Blackhawks are going to turn the corner without him, but he'll always probably be remembered. 19 will go in the rafters, and I don't know if they'll build a statue. I used to think it was a lock, and then everything happened with the organization and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not positive they'll build statues anymore, but they'll certainly put 19 up there. I think he'll make it to the Hall of Fame. I think it's a Hall of Fame resume. There are going to be people that dispute it. There are going to be people that dispute it, Frank, because of points, I think. But, I mean, I would put him in. Frank, we talked about the Carolina Hurricanes a little bit when we mentioned Justin Williams. 20-year extension for the PNC Arena for their deal. What are your thoughts?
They've played at PNC Arena since 1999, and it appears that there's at least 20 more years to come through 2044. I mean, just let that soak in a little bit. That's a very long time. But this deal is not just you're playing at the PNC Arena, right? This also gives owner Tom Dundon the right to develop the 80 acres around the arena. Also a part of the agreement, PNC Arena will undergo major renovations, including the development of a transformational, vibrant sports and entertainment district and public gathering space around the arena. So that kind of contributes to the 80 acres that they're going to develop. The development will create a live work play destination for Triangle residents and visitors throughout the year. This kind of reminds me of what the Arizona Coyotes wanted to do with their stadium. They wanted to renovate. They wanted to make it into this resort. They wanted to make it into a banger. And that's exactly what the Carolina Hurricanes are going to do and what the Arizona Coyotes failed to do. It's going to be a destination where fans want to hang out during the off season. I mean, I'm sure there'll be restaurants. There'll be hotels people want to stay at. I think it's great. This deal from first glance is like, great. They're playing there 20 more years, but there's a lot more that goes into it. I think they have the power to make this a beautiful stadium in the year 2023 and beyond. I think it's going to look great, and I'm excited about it.
I am also excited about it. I would like to go take a visit to the PNC Arena. It's a lot of people call it New Jersey South. I know the Devils don't have the biggest fan base, but a lot of people, for some reason, from New Jersey migrate down to South Carolina and live there. So the Devils always have. It's probably the only rink that they like dominate as a road team.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. I kind of want to see it when they're not playing the Devils too, so I could go there and kind of take it in as a Hurricane
why not?
person. Like, that's just seems exciting to me, and I'm excited that hockey's growing down there in the Southeast. That is very much college football country. You got Clemson and South Carolina and North Carolina. I mean, football is king down there, and I love seeing the Hurricanes become a big part of the sports scene in the Carolinas. So 20-year agreement, I hope it becomes just a banging place where people go hang out all the time. I think the Hurricanes have 2 or 3 more years of like legitimate excellence on the ice. So we'll see if they're able to hoist a Stanley Cup there at some point. They're definitely going to be in the mix. They have to win all conference finals game to get there. That's the first and foremost biggest step. It's kind of like one of those things, like they're just always in the mix. So you figure one of the years they'll break through, like Florida did this year.
Right.
But we'll see what happens next year in terms of their on ice. Me too. We'll go pay a visit there, I think, one time. They just always seem to.
I'd love to stay at a hotel on that little resort thing they're building.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be. Like you say in the hotel, the arena's right there. There's a bunch of nice restaurants to go to. Grab a couple drinks, some food, and then go to the game. It'd be
Yep,
fun.
absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be exciting times in Carolina for years to come.
Yeah.
Frank, your boy Brandon Hagel, big contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Break it down. What are your thoughts?
It's a very interesting deal. It's a very fair deal. He had 30 goals last year. He's making $6.5 million per year on his $52 million 8-year contract. I have to laugh that it's just so comical that he's on par with our 10 points per million to a T, almost down to the single point. It's almost as if the NHL agrees with our formula we've created. It's brilliant,
For
actually.
offensive players, I want to make
For
that very
offensive,
clear.
yeah, but it's brilliant. Like, and we developed this formula. We didn't get this from anything. We didn't hear it from anybody. It's something like we thought about, like, hey, we did it on the show. I mean, go back and watch the clip. I can't tell you when it was, but I'm sure people out there could deep dive into that. But listen, Hagel's a great player. He's not a superstar, but he's a good player. You know, he fits very well in this Tampa Bay lineup. You know, and at the end of Hagel's contract, this Tampa Bay team will most likely not be very good. All the players that we know and love will probably be moved on from, and you know, a new era in Tampa Bay will be underway. But for the short term, this is a very good contract, in my opinion. The Lightning are a very deep team right now. Locking in Hagel to add to this team's depth is definitely going to help them this season and for the next couple of seasons. Is he a 30 goal scorer every year? No. Actually, you know, I don't know. Is he capable of scoring 30 goals every year? He is. He's capable. Is he one? I don't know. Great deal, though. I like it. It's great for the short term. Later in his contract, it'll be like, it's great to have this guy, but we need pieces around him.
He's going to drive his line with Cirelli and probably Sheary. Stamkos, Point, and Kucherov are probably going to form a super duper top line, I think. Even though I would probably move Kucherov down to play with Hagel and Cirelli and move Sheary up to the top line, but that's just what the projected lineup is stating right now. I don't love their defense. They have Hedman, who's a top 10, but then from there, there's a fall off. They have Sergachev, who's a good player too, and I like Chernak, but they got Perbix listed at the top pair with Hedman, and then Dahan with Bogosian on the bottom pair. Don't love that bottom pair, but they have Daddy, Vasilevsky, and net. So I do think for the next 2 or 3 years, the Lightning are going to be a very good team. I do think their reign of winning Stanley Cups is probably over. I think the Leafs are better. I think Florida's better. We'll see if the Bruins are better. Then you go to the Metro. I think the Devils are better. I think the Hurricanes are better. The Rangers are probably right on par with them. We'll see how Pittsburgh is. And then, of course, Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa are trying to come up. So we'll see how that goes. I do like the contract for one reason. They believe they can win one more Stanley Cup. And who am I to argue with them? Maybe they could get one more. You have to go for it. They're going to suck in 5 years. Them and the Penguins. You did say that. Them and the Penguins. Yeah. And the Capitals, but the Capitals are a little bit ahead of the curve in the rebuild because they're starting a little sooner. The Capitals actually might be respectable by the time Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh reach their true bottoming out. But they're a smart organization. They gave Hagel the 6.5. It doesn't kick in. The thing people don't realize, he's making 1.5 next year. Then it kicks in the following year. This is an extension, not a new contract. Remember when Stamkos signed his 8-year deal all those years ago? Mm-hmm. The same day PK Subban was traded for Weber, and then Taylor Hall was traded for Larson. All three of those things happened in a 15-minute span.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 7 years ago. This is the 8th year coming up for Stamkos. Stamkos is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this upcoming season. So that's going to be an issue as Hagel's contract kicks in. I don't know how things are going to work out with the salary cap. Braden Point's on a team-friendly deal. The 9.5. I remember when Braden Point signed, the people in Toronto were like, why can't our guys do that? And then you break it down and it's like, okay, well, there's no state tax in Florida. There is heavy tax in Canada. Braden Point and Mitch Marner are probably taking home the same exact net salary, but the salary caps are different because of taxes and stuff.
Right.
So, it's easier to do things like that in Tampa Bay than it is in Chicago or New Jersey. New Jersey battles it too, so do the Blackhawks, all the teams in Canada. So there is a little bit of a luxury there with that. I do think the salary cap should be the players' income, like what they're actually taking home, not what the state decides. Like I think there could be something collectively bargained with that'll level the playing field a little more, I think. But I mean, yeah, the Tampa Bay Lightning, man. They made the trade for Hagel. They traded the first round pick. Who did it become? It became Moore, right? Oliver Moore for
Yeah,
Hagel.
I like
So
it.
yeah, it worked out for the Blackhawks. It has worked out for the Lightning. I know they traded for Coleman and they won the Stanley Cup the 2 years before, and then they traded for Hagel, who's basically a slightly better version of Blake Coleman. And they didn't win the cup, but like they got this guy extended, and he's better than Coleman, so that's why they kept him and let Coleman go to the Flames. We'll see what happens with that third and fourth line. Nick Paul, Yzerman, and Jeannot are going to be on their third line. And then Barry Bollet, Glendening, and Archibald are looked at as their fourth line. They don't have the depth that they once did. When it was Point, Stamkos, Cirelli, Johnson, that's when they won cups. When Tyler Johnson's your fourth liner. Now Stamkos is on the wing because he's a little older, and now you're up to Point and Cirelli, and then from there it's Nick Paul and Glendening. That's a huge drop off, but I do think their main core with Point, Stamkos, Hedman, and Vasilevsky, it's still good enough to compete, and you add in a player like Hagel. It's a good team.
Absolutely.
So that's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Frank, to wrap up period number 1, I did want to point out to you that the National Hockey League teams are starting to build their eyes.
Cool.
The pictures are being posted on social media. I saw the Ducks. The Ducks does lead me to believe they're going to be wearing Mighty Ducks jerseys for a majority of this season. It's their anniversary.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah. You excited for some ice being built, or do you not care?
No, I'm excited. Is this like the point of the summer where you're like, okay, hockey is officially back, or did that happen a while ago, like when training camp began? Or is this like when it becomes real, when like the ice is being built?
No. So training camp doesn't start. I think training camp is a couple weeks away. Like for me, the off season is just like a little bit different. It's not hockey season. It's the off season. Like once the Stanley Cup is awarded in early June, then I start after we talk about the Stanley Cup champion and celebrate them for a couple days or even a couple weeks, we start to look towards the draft and the NHL awards. Those always happen like a couple days apart. Okay. Now the draft happens. Let's break down how Oliver Moore is going to fit into the Blackhawks system. I don't even bring up Bedard because he's just a little bit different. He's like already on the team. Like I'm not worried about how he fits into the system at all. I love how they release their prospect rankings and Bedard's number 1. Well, it's like, yeah, what else are they supposed to do? But like he's going to be taken off that list. He's going to be the fastest one taken. He was the fastest put on that list, and he's going to be the fastest taken off. But I like breaking that stuff down for a couple days, and then free agency starts. And then once free agency dies down and 90% of the guys are signed, then it's like, okay, you'll get the occasional Matt Dumba signs in Arizona in early August. Or, the Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane updates. There was another big signing that was relatively late. I'm forgetting who it was.
Tarasenko?
Tarasenko is exactly who I'm thinking of. And we were waiting on Tarasenko. We're still, I think the biggest one left is probably Tatar, who's on the back of this shirt, by the way. I think he's probably the best free agent available. Probably ends up Pittsburgh is going to be my guess for him. But like we're kind of in the lull. We had the training camps of the prospects right after they were drafted.
Yeah.
So Connor Bedard got to put on the Blackhawk sweater and skate with all the prospects that were just drafted. That was fun.
Absolutely.
But that only lasts like a week. The Devils had the tournament, Team Brodeur versus Team Stevens versus Team Elias, or however they do it. But then once August hits, the Erik Karlsson deal made August really interesting. But for the most part, we're just kind of waiting for September when the training camp starts. And you start to see the videos and the skills, and then the preseason will start shortly after that. And while you're not watching, I'm going to enjoy it. Frank, I think it's time we start debating each other a little bit again. We like debating here. I think you're crazy for not wanting to watch individual players in the preseason. I'm going to continue to tell you that all preseason long. The football, it sucks.
See, but it has nothing to do with not watching prospects. I'll watch the World Juniors. I'll watch college hockey. I ain't watching no damn preseason when it means nothing.
Understood. I'll let you know how all the big boys do in the prospect area, and
I'll keep up with it. Like naturally, I'll see something about it.
for sure. And we're going to debate some more in period number 2. All right, Frank, I stole this idea from TSN. They had a conversation about, I watch all that shit. I probably take in more Canadian TV than most Canadians, at least Canadians sports TV. I'm watching TSN and they have a conversation. They kind of did it a little different. They did it by position. You had to name one at each position in the NHL. But I just said, let's do 3 players, any order, any position, that you think are going to create the most headline buzz in the NHL this season. And obviously, a lot of theirs were like heavily Canadian focused. Like,
Yeah.
I know this isn't going to be on yours, so I'll say it. One of theirs was like how Stuart Skinner is going to impact the Edmonton Oilers this season. And, that's going to be a huge headline this season. If Stuart Skinner plays well, they could win the Stanley Cup. If he stinks, they'll be out in the second round again. Like, it's one of those things. But in the United States, I care about the Edmonton Oilers, but NBC, you hardly watch. Can you recall a time where Doc Emmerich called an Oilers game or a Maple Leafs game? You can't.
No.
When you think of Doc calling the games, it's Washington, it's Pittsburgh, it's the Rangers, it's the Devils, it's the Blackhawks, the Kings. The Canadian
Yeah.
there is a little bit of a divide media-wise when it comes to the 7 Canadian teams and the, what are we at now? 25 American teams.
Yeah,
so
7 Canadian teams.
Yeah. So, our lists are going to look a lot different than theirs. So I thought it'd be a fun little exercise to hear what you're expecting to see as players who create the biggest headlines this season.
So you want me to go one at a time?
Yeah, and this isn't really in any order.
No.
Just players that you think are going to create headline buzz. We're going to be hearing about them. We're going to be talking about them on this show almost every week the entire season.
I chose one chalk in 2 players. The other 2 are not even going to be a thought in your mind. I would have said these guys.
I think I'm the same. I wonder if our chalk guy is the same. Your chalk guy might not be the same. I think I might have a guess who your chalk guy is, but
my chalk guy is Connor Bedard.
Yeah, I figured.
Just because all eyes are going to be on him this season. There's going to be so much hype around this kid that every time he does something, he'll be making headlines. His first game against Pittsburgh has already been making headlines. His first goal, his first hat trick, any milestones he hits, any records he chases as a rookie, a potential rookie of the year candidate. All eyes are going to be on Connor Bedard if they weren't already. And those eyes aren't just going to be Blackhawks fans. Everybody's going to be talking about Bedard, and the number of headlines might be more than anyone else in the NHL this year. And we're going to talk about him a ton. So I just had to add that to the list. I wouldn't have felt right being the Blackhawks guy, not having him on the list.
I was going to put him, and then I'm like, wait a minute, Frankie's mentioning Bedard. Like, what? I'm not going to even, I'll pick a different guy because I know I'll get to talk about Bedard anyway. We see every year they talk about on these radio shows that I listen to and stuff, over under X amount of points for whatever player, Heischer or Hughes or, whatever the number 1 pick is. I remember it going back with McDavid was heavily focused on points. But with Bedard, everyone's going over under on goals. Everyone wants to guess how many goals this kid is going to score. I saw that FanDuel put 31.5 up on their screen for you to bet on over or under. Are you still thinking under on that?
31.5 goals?
Yeah. Can he score 32 goals?
I think I'm going to go under.
Interesting. I'm smashing. I would smash 41.5. I got. He's going to play 21 minutes a night. There's no film on him, NHL-wise. The shot, I think a shot translates to the NHL more than anything else. Like, your skating's going to have to improve a little bit. Everybody's skating gets better. You're more conditioned. You play more games. The passing, defenders are so much better. And I get goalies are better too. But I think the league favors Bedard scoring that many goals. Goals were up last year like they've never gone up before. Save percentages last year have gone down like they never have before. Gone are the days of Carey Price. I mean, we still have a couple left: Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Saros. But most of the time, gone are the days of guys playing 65, 70 games a season and maintaining under 3 goals against average. I just think the way Bedard plays, the way he shoots, oh, I can't wait to watch him play. That's going to be unbelievable. The Blackhawks, I think I looked at their roster again yesterday trying to convince myself that they'd be good, and they're just not. I don't see it. Like, Athanasiou is their third best forward. Like, no. Their defense is Jones, Murphy, and then a bunch of maybes. Mostly not maybes, actually. If Korchinski makes the team, that's a maybe. It's a bunch of nobodies, really. That defense stinks. Mrazek starting games in 2023 should, like, regularly should be illegal. But Bedard will make them entertaining. And I think he plays so much. As long as he's healthy, he will absolutely grab tons of headlines all season long. We'll
Absolutely.
probably close to every week.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about him all the time.
All right. And to combat that pick you made, I'm going to go for the one guy that I think has a chance to challenge Connor Bedard for the Calder Trophy. I'd be stunned if one of these two don't win it. Because I think Bedard could still get to those 32 goals, and this guy could still win the Calder Trophy if he has like that kind of rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
One like maybe Cale Makar had or his brother Quinn Hughes had. I'm talking about Luke. Luke Hughes, everybody knows how sick Jack Hughes is. Everybody knows how sick Nico Hischier is. If the best team in the Eastern Conference or one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference has this rookie that looks like he's going to be a superstar for the next 10 years, he's going to steal headlines. And like, I legitimately think because of the fact that it could be this awesome 2-horse race between Bedard and Hughes for the Calder Trophy, there's probably a Russian kid who's 24 that'll come over and, you know, he's older than Hughes and Bedard, so he'll like have a little more experience playing against men, like a Panarin or a Capri.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with that this season. If a guy like Fantilli gets himself into the mix, I'm sure that's possible. But as of right, Devin Levi, if he has a save percentage over 910 and a goals against under 3, he'll be in the conversation. But I'm really hoping that Luke Hughes is the type of guy that's just making headline buzz every single week, making us wonder if there's actually a chance that Connor Bedard doesn't win the Calder Trophy.
You know, it's funny because your same logic in not choosing Bedard is my same logic in not choosing Luke Hughes. I was going to mention him, and I'm like, well, I know Vinny's going to mention him. I completely agree with you. I actually think Luke Hughes will be the most talked about devil this season over Jack Hughes, over Nico Hischier, over Brett. I think over all of them, just because of what I think he's going to bring to this Devils team. You know, and it's funny you say that because I got to agree with you. I think that these two are probably one of these two are going to win Rookie of the Year. I think it's almost a given. I really don't think there's another rookie out there that could challenge them. I know there's very, very talented rookies there that, you know, may have higher odds. I don't know who's second behind Bedard.
Luke.
Is it Luke?
It is Luke, yeah.
Well, then there you go. I mean, I really don't think there's other rookies in the league unless they just like off the wall, right? Like freaking Adam Fantilli, Potts 50 or something ridiculous. Other than that, I really don't think there's anybody else for the Rookie of the Year candidate. And he was going to be one of my options. I let you do your Devils one. You let me do my Blackhawks one. And I really like that. I really like the Luke Hughes pick because I do think we're going to be talking about him a lot.
Absolutely. Bedard's first is a category on FanDuel.
His what?
Or on DraftKings, his first goal. You can bet what team it will be against.
That's a thing?
Yeah. The Penguins are plus 195 and they lead. Can I go over to awards? And I slide on over to the Calder Trophy. And yeah, Connor Bedard is minus 140. I hate that.
It went down a lot though.
But nobody.
I like it more even now. It was like minus 300. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I think minus is ridiculous for one player to win an award. I think, other than maybe the scoring title, like McDavid, he's won a couple Hart trophies, but like Matthews could score 60 and win the
Yeah,
MVP again
I
next
agree
year.
with what you're saying, but
Like, I just don't think a single individual player award being minus is crazy. Like, I would put Luke Hughes plus 600. That's the most value, and I like Logan Cooley at plus. We forgot to mention him.
I did
He'll be
forget
in the
about
mix.
Logan
He'll
Cooley.
be in the mix.
I still don't think he has a shot.
No, I don't. I mean, I then Fantilli's fourth at plus 1,000. Levi's third plus 1,200. I think a goalie could get a little more notoriety though for being a goalie.
Here's the thing. If they didn't have Bedard at minus, they'd lose so much money
If he won.
if he won.
Yeah, I get
And
that.
that's what they're trying to protect.
You like Shane Wright at plus 3,000?
No, I don't.
I don't either. That's funny. I like Jiricek at plus 2,500, the Columbus Blue Jackets prospect. He'll be in the mix. Matthew Nyes for
Where's
Toronto.
Leo Carlson?
Leo Carlson is plus 3,000 as well.
I like that.
I think I'd take Jiricek and Nyes over him.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'd take Carlson over Jiricek.
Jiricek is probably, if I ranked every prospect in the NHL from 1 to 10, I would probably put Jiricek third.
Wow.
No, I'd put him fourth. I would go Bedard, Hughes, Cooley, Jiricek. Then I would put Nemec, but I don't think a defenseman wins. Other than Luke.
Probably not.
Because Nemec is more of a two-way guy, where Luke is like going to go out there and score some freaking points.
Yeah.
Like, I could see Nemec being like Duncan Keith, a diet Duncan Keith, and I could see Luke Hughes being like a diet Makar with worse skating, because nobody skates like Makar. I'm just saying, like, the style of play. Not as productive, obviously. That's impossible, I think.
Who's last on that list? Like, who's the last rookie that you could bet on?
Oscar Olesen.
For the Phillies?
Oh, he's tied with three people.
Flyers?
I don't know, actually. I have no idea. There are a couple guys in here I don't recognize. So, like, these are probably just rookies that weren't drafted very high that they know will play this year.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, I don't know. There are some good rookies on here. I would love to see one of these guys jump up and get into the mix. I hope Shane Wright. I want one of Bedard or Hughes to win, but like I would love to see Logan Cooley just go off for the Coyotes this year. And Luke Hughes will benefit from playing with good forwards. Logan Cooley will probably be on the best line. I like Schmaltz and Keller for Cooley better than I like Hall and Reichel for Bedard.
Really?
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
Dude, Keller was unbelievable last year.
I think we're going to see Reichel have a massive step up, and
So
people are going to have their jaw hit the floor.
So do I, but
more
I think
than that Coyotes team.
Dude, Keller had 80 points last year, and he was coming back from a broken femur.
I don't see
he was
it.
nominated for the Master Trophy. The Coyotes' top line is going to be unreal with Schmaltz, Cooley, and Keller. Keller gets 100 points. Easy.
I don't agree.
Dude, Keller, you know how Jack Hughes broke all the records for
the
United States National Development Program? Whose records do you think he broke?
Clayton Keller's.
Clayton Keller.
I
Unbelievable. And then he was
understand.
slowed down by the broken femur. And then last year he pots 80 points on a bad Coyotes team out of nowhere. There's 100 coming for him easily this year. Easily. Especially with Cooley. Absolutely. That team's going to be decent. The Coyotes will be decent.
If that's what you call it.
Playing in front of, I think, I'm not going to say that. You'll think I'm crazy. You already think I'm crazy. But
playoffs?
No, I don't know about playoffs, but like better than the Blues, possibly better than the Predators, for certain better than the Blackhawks. And then you look at the other division to like see where they rank in the West, and like better than the Sharks, better than the Ducks. I think the Pacific has taken a big step forward. They're not better than Edmonton. They're not better than Colorado or the Wild even. Maybe what if they are better than? I'm high on the Coyotes, dude. I was looking at Clayton Keller's stats, and I'm like, this dude's great defensively. He puts up a massive amount. Dude, he had 80 points coming back from a broken femur. They thought his career was over.
I'm not buying it.
Well, you'll be buying it by the end of next season, especially with Cooley.
Yeah, we'll see.
And dude, Hall had like 50 points for the last like 4 years, and Lucas Reichel is an unproven prospect.
I don't know. I just can't get behind it.
Schmaltz and Keller are proven like players in the NHL, especially Keller. And Keller has that pedigree. 7th overall pick. Like, he's a guy they better hit on. He better be a superstar for them. I hope they make him captain. And I'm a big Clayton Keller guy. He was on Spit and Chicklets.
Yeah.
He was talking about like the scariness of a broken femur. Like, you could potentially not walk, let alone come back and play hockey. And the doctor was like, yeah, dude, you're going to play again. I'm going to make it happen. And last year he comes out and has 80 points on a bad team. And he kind of a slow start. On fire at the end of last season. 100-point pace from January on. You'll see.
I'm just not buying it.
With Logan Cooley, too. With Logan Cooley. Oh. And then they have some top prospects, too. Gunther. Remember how dominant he was with Cooley and Bedard? That was the top line, I think? Or maybe Cooley wasn't on the team. I don't remember. No, Cooley was playing college. No, college players still play, though. I don't remember exactly how it went. There's so many games. But, yeah. Well, this all came from talking about Luke Hughes, but I like Logan Cooley in the number 3 spot as a dark horse. Did not mention him as a player that will steal headlines, though.
No, me either.
Who's your next player?
My next player is a guy that many casual fans probably won't be familiar with because he was a rookie last season. That's Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars. I think the Dallas Stars are once again not only going to be contenders to win the Stanley Cup, but they're going to be favorites to win the Stanley Cup. And Wyatt Johnston had such a tremendous rookie year that I believe he's a bit overlooked. He had 24 goals in his rookie year, only had 41 points, but he played in all 82 games. And I see Wyatt Johnston having a tremendous year and really stepping up into his sophomore year. He's got a tremendous skill set. He fits into the top 6, or should fit into the top 6 very nicely. And if the Dallas Stars are going to be as good as everyone is predicting, Wyatt Johnston's going to be a big contributor to that. And he's going to have an even better season than he did last year. And like I said, you're probably unfamiliar with him because he's relatively new. You know, the casual fans might not know much about him, but I could see him making headlines as an unfamiliar hero that leads Dallas to great things this season.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I don't think there's any way he's not like.
I think he's gonna be really good.
Yeah,
Truly.
I'm trying to look up exactly what he came in for the Calder Trophy. He came in 5th.
Yeah,
and he was on the NHL's All-Rookie team. Getting 41 points as a rookie is unreal.
He played in all 82 games, so.
Yeah, if freaking Logan Cooley gets 41 points next year, Keller has 110. But yeah, I love the pick. Wyatt Johnston. He's not, I mean, maybe he'll end up being, where was he drafted? I know that's as bad, but a lot of the times where you're drafted does kind of like enhance your pedigree. Like, I don't think Clayton Keller is what he is, and he's like a 7th round pick. He was drafted 7th overall.
Yeah.
Wyatt Johnston was taken 23rd overall by Dallas in 2021. So high pedigree, good player in the first round. Now he's turning into a stud.
Yep.
So, and he was great in the playoffs. And we've talked about it before. As the Stars weaned away from Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin as their number 1 go-to guys, they're still on the team, but they're not their go-to scorers. Right. They are using Robertson and Pavelski too. He aged like fine wine. But Rupe Hintz and now Wyatt Johnston. And Miro on the back, it's a really good team. So I really like the pick for Wyatt Johnston. I think he's going to obviously not be eligible for the Calder Trophy or anything like that, but he will make noise this season. Bachagaloop does bring up Fantilli. We talked about Fantilli in the Calder race. I don't think
Yeah.
he's going to be stealing headlines every single week, which is
No,
the discussion we're having right now. But he's. I love the Blue Jackets prospect farm. I would rank it 1. I think because
really.
they have Jiricek, who's
I think they're
gonna.
going to be way better. We know that. We've said that.
Yeah, they're going to be way
Exciting.
better this year. The reason I think they're going to be way better this year, they'll be less injured.
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau will have he's got a full season of being a Blue Jacket under his belt. So 70 points could probably go back to being 90, 100 points again. I don't know how big of an impact Jiricek's going to make this season, but I would rank him the number 4 prospect in all of hockey. He's unbelievable. And I really like that they ended up with Gavin Brindley, and him and Fantilli were like buds. I really think some big things are coming for the Blue Jackets. I'm not sure it's this year. Well, they'll take a step forward, of course, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I like Fantilli. So there's plenty of Fantilli love on this show. Just he's not going to be on Wyatt Johnson's level of production this year. I think he'll probably. No, I don't think. I really think he'll be an overall better player than Wyatt Johnson.
Absolutely.
Fantilli.
Probably. Yeah.
But this upcoming season, I'd be stunned if Wyatt Johnson doesn't, at minimum, reach the 50-point plateau.
He might get 30 goals. Honestly,
Yeah.
He's playing on the second line potentially. That Dallas Stars team is going to be good.
Yeah, on a great team.
Right.
So we'll see. Skoke says Columbus rushes their prospect in his opinion. I agree, but I think based on what we've seen in the last year or so, I like the way they held back Jiricek and stuff. Like I do think that hopefully, fingers crossed as a hockey fan, is a thing of the past for them. We'll see though. That's nothing guaranteed whatsoever. Frank, the one I was going to say that is chalk is the grade 8, Alexander Ovechkin. Every time he scores a goal. Here's 830. Here's 834. Here's 850. Okay. He's pulling up on Gretzky. He's starting the season with 822. I will be stunned if we don't talk about him regularly on this show. His 8th goal of the season will be his 830th. If he gets to 40, he'll be in the 860s, which means he'll be a 30-goal season away from getting Gretzky. I think 40 is right around the mark. Goals are up, so maybe he does get back to 50 or at least mid-40s. If he scores 45, then he's in the late 60s going into next season. If he's healthy this year and next, I think he breaks Gretzky's record in March of 2025.
He was somebody else I was going to add too, but it's like,
yeah,
I had my one chalk.
Yeah, we're talking about Ovechkin every single week. I think as long as he scores a goal, I'll be like, oh well, Ovechkin. There'll be the weeks where he has a hat trick and then 2 goals the following night. There's 5 in 2 games. He's that much closer. Like, have you flipped yet?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
You're not allowed to anymore.
That's fine.
I gave you the out after last season ended.
That's great. You're not allowed to either when he doesn't.
He's with. I'm not going to. I wouldn't. I would say I was wrong. But like, I want you to think he's not going to till he does, and then you have to admit you're wrong. When he's on 893, you have to say, I don't think he scores another goal in his career. That's what I meant by that. You are not allowed to flip anymore.
He might not get to 893.
But if he does, I want you to say he's going to break his femur and never play hockey again. Like, that has to be your mentality. He's just not.
That's fine.
All right. I'll be nice. I'm a nice guy.
That's fine.
I'm a nice guy.
No, that's fine.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a great mood. Hockey's coming. Got some football coming up soon. Times are good.
Times are good. So what
you have till the season starts.
VP.
To flip.
We're not flipping.
Because if you don't think he's scoring 60 goals in the next 4 years, when he usually scores 50 on average, like, he will play out the last 4 years of his contract. I have zero doubt in my mind. He could get 20 each of those years and break the record. So when he gets 40 this year, and then you could say he could get 10 every year the rest of the way. You have till opening day to flip.
We're not flipping. That is not an option.
Not an option. Not an option. Well, I'll ask you one more time before the season starts.
That's fine.
Just in case you sleep on it and You dream of it happening. Like, and Frank, you like signs, right?
Uh-huh.
You believed that the Blackhawks were going to win the lottery to get Bedard once you find out he had your birthday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The hockey gods didn't fucking speak to you when he scored 800 using a hat trick. He comes into the United Center with 797 goals. He comes into the United Center against your favorite team, the Chicago Blackhawks, and he has 797. The hockey gods didn't speak to you when he scored a hat trick right in your freaking face. That didn't tell you, like, hey, that's a sign. That's Ovechkin. That's hockey gods. That's the Russian gods telling me to concede to Vinny and back off.
Oh, no. I understand. Like, I kind of saw the writing on the wall before it happened. It's just like, of course, it's going to happen, dude. It's going to happen. And I didn't want it to happen that night.
Of course not.
I was so mad.
I know you were. Good.
Oh,
how dare you disrespect a legend?
I was irate.
Alexander Ovechkin, since you started coming on this podcast. Just complete and utter disrespect for one of the all-time greats.
What a muffin.
What a muffin is right. 822 goals. Let's see. I think I took a screenshot of something to throw in your. Yep. Ovechkin's career achievements so far: 1,347 games, 822 goals, 663 assists, 1,485 points. Oh, Ovechkin will reach 1,500 points this season too, which will also create a headline, which is why I mentioned him. He's got 6,355 shots. That is the most all time. Another headline he'll make. Oh, he's making headlines all season long. He has 299 career power play goals. So the first power play goal he scores this season he will become the first player in NHL history to reach 300 career power play goals.
Interesting.
He's got the most 30-goal seasons ever, the most 40-goal seasons ever, he's close to becoming the leader in the most 50-goal seasons ever. Just, my man is unbelievable. Can't wait. I hope he gets to 50 this year. If he gets to 50, that'll be 772. If he gets to 50, he'll be 20-something goals away. He could break that by Christmas of next season.
I don't think he gets 50.
Okay, but if he gets 40, 45. Ovechkin will break Gretzky's record on February 28th, 2025.
I remember that. February 28th, 2025.
Or whatever game Washington has in that area. We'll have to look at the schedule for sure. But
you better hope he does.
Why? You better hope he doesn't.
I'm gonna rip you in the eye.
I have the puck in the offensive zone right now.
I feel like there's more pressure on this because like you're so adamant on it happening.
But Frank, here's the thing. I've been adamant on it happening. Here, I could actually go back and show you something really freaking cool. This is one of my all-time greatest takes, I think, if he does it. If he does it, it will be one of my all-time greatest takes because I've been on this for years. And, our pal Uncle Freddie, Uncle F-Bomb, he has a picture that we drew or that we made before. I think I might have I cleared out all my texts. Yeah, damn it. I cleared out all my texts when I ran out of some storage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have him send it to me and I'll have it ready for next show. It was like 2015. I wrote out how Ovechkin is going to break Gretzky's record. And it is spot on to this day. I don't think I've ever been more right about anything. I think I predicted this better than I could predict like what I'm going to eat for dinner. And I get to choose what I get to eat for dinner.
Oh, what are you eating for dinner?
I do know what I don't know exactly what, but I know where. We're going to a fish place called Bob Chin's for dinner tonight.
Oh, I've heard of Bob Chin's.
You've heard of Bob Chin's? Yeah, I'm going there tonight. It's Katie's parents celebrating Katie's birthday.
I might have been there. I don't know.
They all speak so highly of it. I made the reservation and I'm excited to go. But
I've definitely heard of it. I don't know if I've been there though.
Yeah. Well, Ovechkin is going to shove it up your hoop real soon.
He's all right.
Top 10 player all time?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so too. I would rank him 6th.
6, that's fair.
I would go Gretz. Gretzky, Lemieux, or
what?
Gordie Howe, Sidney Crosby,
Get it?
Alexander Ovechkin.
Fair.
McDavid will jump Crosby and possibly Howe and possibly Orr and possibly Lemieux.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. McDavid's the greatest skater we've ever seen. And you just combine that with Sidney Crosby's skill, and you have what he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing that.
I didn't think you would. You make some weird takes like Ovechkin, but
I make some weird takes, but not all of them are wrong.
No, not at all. Frank, at the end of the frickin' day, everyone is about 50-50 on takes, except for Jeremy. He's about 3 out of 10. You know what take Jeremy nailed? We're going off the rails here. You know what take Jeremy nailed though, and I wanted to punch him in the face when he said it for the first time.
I'm a little nervous.
Frank, I thought when he said it that it was the single dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And you've told me this before, because I know this take. I just can't think of it.
And he was fucking right. And that kind of like changed things for me in life. Like sports takes, you're gonna be wrong about some shit. Like you were wrong about Tage Thompson. I was wrong about the Cleveland Browns. You are gonna be wrong about Clayton Keller. I'm gonna be wrong about something. Clayton Keller still has to. I'm obviously joking. I was trying to get you to laugh. He was adamant. The draft went Matthews, Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Puljujarvi. But it was supposed to go Matthews, Laine, Puljujarvi, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Columbus skipped Puljujarvi to take Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I thought that was the dumbest thing. It would be like somebody saying, no, Anaheim made the right decision taking Carlson. He's better than Fantilli. And there are probably people out there that believe that. And they might be right one day. They very well could be right one day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this story is kind of why I didn't completely shit on them for missing Fantilli. And he said, there's no way Puljujarvi's better than Pierre-Luc Dubois. Pierre-Luc Dubois might be the second best player from that draft. All these years later, he's probably the third best player from the draft. I would go Matthews, McAvoy, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, just unreal take he ended up having, and I thought he was so wrong.
It's like Tyler with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, here's my thing with Patrick Mahomes. I don't get how we didn't see this coming. He was incredible at Texas Tech. And people were acting like he was just like this underwhelming prospect. Dude had like a 5,000-yard season every single year he played at Texas Tech with amazing amount of touchdowns and very few interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get how all these NFL executives didn't see it and how we were fed all this bullshit by Todd McShay and, the other NFL draft scouts. I feel the same way about that. So whatever, dude.
That's fair.
Go ahead with your third pick. And if you're back and forth between two, you can name a fourth because I have a fourth I'm going to mention.
No, I mean all the other ones that I could have named. I mean, you kind of touched on them. I thought about both years, which is kind of weird because there's so many players that could make big headlines.
Mm-hmm.
But
I hope you name one of mine right here, so I don't have to give an honor.
I'm not gonna name yours unless yours is a goalie.
Nope. Neither. Of them.
So my third is a goalie that I fell in love with last season. I thought he did great. There's a lot has to happen for these headlines, but I think it could. That's Peter Kochetkov. Here's the deal. I know the Carolina Hurricanes have both Freddie Anderson and Antti Raanta signed for next season, right? So there's your 1-2. So there's a good chance that he doesn't get to play much this year. However, both Anderson and Raanta have a lengthy injury history that could see Kochetkov take the net more than expected. And who knows that if the Hurricanes have seen the spark from Kochetkov that we've seen so far in his young career, he may steal the net from one of these goaltenders. And it looks like Kochetkov loves playing around this team, and he's shown tremendous stats through the small sample size of his 27-game career that we've seen so far. He's already started making headlines last year. I mean, we were talking about him all the time. And if he were to steal the job for one of these goaltenders, it would make even more headlines. Not to mention that for whatever reason, if he gets the starting job for the Carolina Hurricanes, like for whatever reason, like Anderson's injured, Ronta's injured, and Kochetkov's the number one goaltender this year, I would not be surprised if he's a candidate for the Vezina. I really wouldn't. I think he's that good. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be that good. And when you have that good of a team playing in front of you, big things are going to happen. They're going to be a threat this season. With him in net, I think they're a little bit underrated. I know if I was the coach, I would want to see a trade for either Ranta or Anderson and get Kochetkov at least as the number 2. And so, like, I think he's that good. I think that they could get something for Ranta or Anderson. I really do. I think it's time to get this kid in net. You don't have to pay him a lot. You could get something for one of these goaltenders. If the cards fall the right way, I think everybody's going to be talking about Kochetkov this year.
Watched him a lot last year,
And
actually.
he was fantastic.
The Devils played against him twice. They shit on him one time. He stoned them the other time, only gave up one.
He's really good.
I saw him play in person with the Chicago Wolves, the Carolina Hurricanes AHL affiliate. Guess what he did?
Shut out?
Shut out the Iowa Wild, who had Marco Rossi on the team dangling around everyone.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, this kid is so good.
Yeah, he's good. There's no doubt he's good. I'm excited. He's a good player. We'll see if he's like you're talking about him winning the Vezina while admitting he's the third string to start the season. Which just goes to show like he's a good player. I don't get why Carolina doesn't use him.
I don't either.
If they don't this year, I do think that'll be a mistake. So, which them not using him and him playing for the Chicago Wolves this year would be a headline. So I think it's a good take.
We'll see.
The third guy I wrote down is Tim Stützle. I think 100 points.
That's
he
fair.
had 90 something this year. He's a Canadian team's version of Keller, just a high draft pick who lots of good line mates around him. He'll have one of Giroux, Kachuk. There are all sorts of great players that could have a chance. Tarasenko that could have a chance to play with him there. I think he'll have 35 power play points and 70-something points at even strength likely, and tons of points are coming his way. I think he steals the show. He's not the best player in Canada, but he's close.
Mm-hmm.
He's really close. He's a very good player. I think he is one of the people that were in the 90s last year that joined the 100-point club this season for the first time ever. Obviously, Jack Hughes is somebody up there. I know I keep going back to Keller because it's funny. He's not in the 90-point club. Like, let's get a 90-point season under the belt before we start talking about 100. But a breakout season like that where he's considered a superstar, that's kind of what I mean. And I feel the same way about Stützle. I like the makeup of that Ottawa team up front at the top. We'll see if their goaltending and defense are able to hold up. They got some good players on the back end, but I think the depth might be tested at times. But we'll see. My honorable mention, or you could say something. Do you have something to say about Tim Stützle?
I mean, I love Tim Stützle and what I've seen from him so far. He was on my top 20 centers list. Well, if you don't think he's a top 20 center, then that's just like,
what do you know?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, he'd be on everybody's top 20 center list.
Yeah.
No, I like him. I think it's a good pick, and he's going to make waves this season. So I like that you chose it as a headline.
Absolutely. And I think Canadian teams, they do generate more headlines, and people will be talking about the Ottawa Senators this season, whether they're good or bad or middle. Stützle will be leading the way on a team like that. So I think we talk about him a lot. My honorable mention is a player. You're right. It was kind of chalk. So I wanted to talk about Stützle and Hughes more. Austin Matthews, contract year. He is an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, can sign with any team in the league. I think it's this upcoming season, and people are going to be talking to him all season long. hey, Austin, you're going to stay in Toronto. Hey, Austin, are you going to stay in Toronto? Hey, Austin, are you going to stay in Toronto? And he's finally probably just going to be like, shut the hell up. Yes, Austin Matthews is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. So he's going to be needing a new contract. And the funny thing about him, Mr. Frank, is that he also, hold on, he's got a big milestone coming up. He currently has, wait for it.
Waiting.
He currently has 299 goals. So his first goal of the season will be his 300th of his career, which is funny.
That'll be a headline.
Through the same number of years, Ovechkin had 302 goals. Now, Austin Matthews gets hurt a little bit more than Ovechkin did at that time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if Ovechkin started playing 70 games a season as opposed to 82. That happens with age a little bit. And that could be the difference between a 40-goal season and a 50-goal season, absolutely. Or a 45-goal season and a 50-goal season, I guess I should say. But Matthews right now, if this pace continued, would have a chance at the record if he played until his late 30s.
Yep.
700's a lock for me, though. And that'll have him as a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest goal scorers ever. I think he's currently the greatest goal scorer in the NHL. I know he had a down year last year, but his down year was 41 goals. If your down year is 41 goals, then we should expect you to get right back up to 50 this year.
Seriously.
He'll be a 50-goal scorer, I think, again this season. And he's going to do it in a perfect time of contract year because I think 12 to 13 Schmillen being the highest paid player in the NHL is on the horizon for Mr. Austin Matthews. So he'll be and he plays for the Leafs. So, and he's never scored a goal in the second round. So those are things people are going to talk about as well. He's got milestones, contract, MVP caliber play, trouble in the playoffs. People will be talking Matthews all season long.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So, Frank, this was a fun little exercise.
It was.
It's not
quite good names out there.
Yeah, and I figured it would drive some conversations that we might not normally have. Like we talked about Tim Stützle. We talked about, Kochetkov. It led to conversations about Keller and Cooley and,
Absolutely.
But we talked about Bedard through it for a couple minutes. So I just really think that was fun. I'll try to come up with a couple more things like this as we look to close the off season with plenty of things to talk about. But Frank,
cool.
Let's get in to period number 3. Welcome to period 3. Frank, we have nothing of note. I mean, hockey's dead, but it's going to revive soon. We're making up headlines. We're talking about people's Instagram posts and building contracts and building ice. Like we're in the meat of the off season now. So I'm curious. Now that we're at this point, I think I might have lost Frankie. I don't hear any noise and I don't see him. So I'm curious if it's me or if it's him.
What happened?
Was it you or was it me? All right, so Frankie's not back yet. I actually think it's him this time, based on what I'm seeing on my screen. I'm curious, though. I was going to ask him about winding down the summer, so we'll wait to see if he ends up coming back in. I'm waiting for an update on my phone, but, I do think the NHL season, so we get to this point, right? And we're waiting for the season to end. Or we're waiting for the off season to end. And then all of the sudden, we're looking for training camp to come up. And then eventually, it leads to the preseason. Well, I'm curious how Frankie's going to wind down his summer before we get to that point, but we sit here and wait for him to come back. Skylar in the chat points out that college football returns this weekend. What kind of matchups are we talking, guys? Who's excited for what? What teams do we think are going to be sick? What teams do we think are going to be disappointments? So,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Put that in the chat.
Yeah.
While waiting, college football fans. Put that in the chat. I'm excited for college football as well. Frank, before your computer exploded, I was going to ask you, how are you winding down your summer?
Well, we got a lot of summer birthday parties coming up. A lot of end of September birthdays. September is always usually a busy month. So that's really all I got planned. I don't think I have anything else major planned. Other than that, I'm getting excited for the video games to come out this time of year. We got NHL coming up. NHL 24 looks great. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 looks fantastic. So I'm excited about that. That's all I really got planned for the end of the summer.
I understand that some of these parties got some curious theme or some sick themes to them this summer. You want to go into detail about some of those?
The Mario theme, is that what you're real?
Oh yeah.
That's the only one I could think of. I don't really know any of the other themes, but yeah, the Mario theme, that should be a lot of fun. They mentioned something else too. I can't think of it. Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
That's what it is. Yeah. So there's a lot going on. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Skylar brings up the Texas Longhorns Alabama game that is on September 9th. So cannot wait.
I can't wait for college football.
For
We're
that.
back.
Yeah, we're back. Frankie still thinks a group of 5 school is going to win the national championship, I'm sure.
Yep.
I'm never going to get over that. Although I don't think Cincinnati's going to be a group of 5 school for long. I do think they get into the Power 5 eventually.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, that always happens. I remember the days when TCU and Baylor were group of 5 schools. Now they're like TCU was in the national championship game last year. They got joked by Georgia, but everybody got joked by Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I crazy? Did they join the Big 12 Cincinnati? They might have. There's so much realignment that's happened with college football.
There's so much that have gone on in sports. It's hard to remember everything.
Well, specifically college football realignment too. This team's joining the Big 10. The Pac-12 is down to 4 teams now. It might be 5 again, but I'm pretty sure it's still 4. Tom says better late than never. Hey, thanks for joining us, Tom. We missed you.
Oh, hey there.
Hey there, Tom. Welcome to Fish Creek. Yes, he says Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, or USF, and BYU now Big 12 or UCF.
I was gonna say, I do remember that.
Me too. That's why I said it, but I was like, I wasn't positive. Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. Well, Frank, maybe now Cincinnati has a chance. Not really.
never know. Never say never, VP. Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
God.
Debbie Downer, realistic. I'm gonna go with realistic, actually. What are you liking about Big Brother?
I can't stand Heisem.
He sucks.
That attitude, he just thinks he's better than everyone. I can't stand it.
Can't wait for him to go home this week.
His shit doesn't smell. That's what he thinks.
I know. Can't wait for him to go home.
Dude, I hope. I haven't watched the live feed, so if you know something I don't, but I hope this plan doesn't backfire. I hope he just he's got to go. Felicia is also the oldest HOH ever in Big Brother. I just thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I'm excited for that longest HOH competition in Big Brother history to return this week. Remember, they kind of previewed that from last week. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I have a problem with this season is the nether region twist doesn't make any sense to me. There's no twist. You just send somebody away, and then there needs to be more from it. Like, what's the point of it? I hope there's something to come. To me, it's just a waste.
Well, I think they can't talk game. You're like away.
They're making a big deal about it. There's a tube and everything. And there's just a tube to say, oh, we got to send somebody there every time.
That will lead to something. I'd be stunned if it doesn't.
I would be stunned too. And which is why I'm saying if it doesn't, it's one of the dumbest twists I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, I hated the whole multiverse thing at first. Now I love it.
I love it. Why do you hate the multiverse?
It was just at first I was confused. But I guess whenever...
You know what a multiverse is, though.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think whenever anything creates a multiverse, I think that makes it a little confusing.
Absolutely.
Like Multiverse of Madness was a little confusing at first, and then it all clicks, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's sick. But yeah, I'm excited for tonight.
I can't wait to see Heisem's face.
Me too. I think he goes down this week. I think there's no way that there's just no way that dumbass gets to stay. He's this season's Daniel. I was actually debating with Katie. Who do I hate more, Heisem or Daniel?
Oh, Heisem for me.
100%. Really? I think it's close. Daniel was a prick.
They both are.
I know, but recency bias might be taking over for it.
This guy, VP, might be my least favorite Big Brother player of all time.
I believe you.
He sits down. He's like, All right, let me tell you why my way is the right way.
No, he's like, this is a real conversation. Hey, Frank, who are your 2 favorite NHL teams?
Well, I'd have to say the Blackhawks.
Frank, I think your 2 favorite NHL
Yeah,
teams should be the New
right.
Jersey Devils and the Boston Bruins.
Right. I can't stand it. How, like, even Daniel wasn't that bad. Like, Daniel was just a prick and he was annoying, but this guy is just unbelievable.
Frank, who are your 2 favorite Star Wars characters of all time?
I like.
You know what, Frank? I think
yeah.
your 2 favorite characters should be Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And it's
Just an
annoying.
asshole.
Like,
Yeah, it's
the
annoying.
fact that his alliance is turning on him this early just says it all, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just so annoying.
Just a major dickhead. You know, I think being nice is free. I've always said that. Being nice to people is free. And not being a complete douche monkey is also free.
And then
this guy just doesn't do it.
I lost my shit when he was at the veto meeting. He's like, and I want everybody's help to vote out Riley. And I'm like, what? You said that in front of everybody? And everybody's like, what the?
Yeah, that was crazy. And I don't backdoor people. I'm just honest with everyone.
One thing is true. He is brutally honest. He'll tell you to your face, you're going. I want you as my target.
That's a bad game.
It is a bad game because, like, Big Brother's all about lying and backstabbing. Like, that's the name of the game. If you don't like it, don't sign up for the show.
Exactly. He's like, I don't like that. I'm not about that. Then fucking don't go on Big Brother, idiot.
Getting hot in here.
Just
getting heated.
Dummy. If Heisem were an NHL player, who is he?
Frickin' Tom Wilson.
See, Tom Wilson's good. I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say Kachuk. I'm like, Kachuk's an elite player. Kachuk would be Heisem if Heisem went on to win.
Right. He's not gonna win.
No, he's not getting past this week.
Can you imagine?
Who's a shitty player that was also a dickhead? Like, those guys don't normally last, but like,
I mean, I can't think of one.
Yeah, there really is none, which is a disgrace to Heisem's name. But yeah, he sucks. I can't wait to watch him. I hope he gets put on the freaking chopping block tonight, and then by Thursday he will be.
Yeah, literally.
Everybody wave bye-bye to Heisem.
I really can't think of it. I've never also seen so many unified disliking somebody so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel, though.
Like, people who don't watch Big Brother know about it.
I know.
And we're like, this guy's an asshole. They're like, I just got to tune in to see if he leaves. I'm like, is this actually what I'm hearing? Like, there's this many people that doesn't like him, like people who don't even watch the show. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, I think every sports fan should watch Big Brother because, like, it gives me that similar feeling, like when I'm watching sports.
It's like a sport.
Yeah, it is like a sport. And then the challenge came on, and I watched that a little bit. I'm not like invested in it.
Yeah.
But like, it was cool seeing Monty compete.
That's cool.
That thing in between the trucks. It was a cool competition.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I missed that. I missed that era of MTV though. I don't know why. I just didn't. I didn't watch it when that was a thing. I watched MTV. I watched TRL. I watched Viva La Bam, Bam's Unholy Union, Jackass, Punked. What was the one about cars?
Well,
Pit My Ride, the Andy Milonakis show.
It used to be called The Real World.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it doesn't sound familiar. It was going on during that time.
But I didn't watch it for
right. Yeah, I get it.
So, you gonna watch Ahsoka?
Well, of course I'm gonna watch it. I don't know when. The first 2 episodes are streaming now.
Yeah.
Runs through October 3rd. You know, in the trailer, she mentioned that she left the Jedi Order to find her own path, and that really hit different for me and G, because we just watched that episode of Clone Wars a few months ago, and like just that alone is making me very excited for the show, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I would probably watch both episodes tonight.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's on par with Mando, and because she's in Mando and she's in
Book
of Boba Fett, like. She's part of this whole thing.
She's
and
big.
I've watched all those shows weekly and didn't miss a minute. Like, I had them watch by the next day every single time. That's the one show or one little series that I like stayed that loyal to. And besides like Big Brother, like I'm talking like streaming TV.
Yeah, right. And I love the actress that plays her, Rosario Dawson, I think her name is.
She's outstanding. She
was a judge on this show we watched, the Go Big show. So like I was like, wait a second, that's Ahsoka.
Oh, really? That is cool.
And I'm like, yeah. So she's really cool. When she's not in character too. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys Ahsoka that watches. It's going to be outstanding television.
Yep.
Frank, I'm not going to get into the news that happened with the Chicago White Sox yesterday. I'm sure that you saw.
Hmm.
Obviously, they fired Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams. There's going to be a complete overhaul there at 35th and Shields. I will get into that tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Crosstown Crosstalk. You will hear all my thoughts about that and then what's going on with the surging Cubs and talking about some other things going on in Major League Baseball. But I do want to get your take right now because you're not going to be on tomorrow unless you want to come on tomorrow. That's up to you. The Seattle Mariners surging 8 in a row, losing to the White Sox right now. But I mean, they're just surging. And like, not only are they fully inserted into the wild card now, they're like in the conversation with the division because the
Yep.
Astros and Rangers decided to get swept over the weekend. And now they're just playing like terrible baseball. The Rays traded their star closer. The guy they got for him back hit a big home run to put them ahead of the White Sox for good yesterday. And now the teams that acquired Verlander or Scherzer are the ones reeling a little bit. The Houston
Hmm.
Astros are 5-5 in their last 10, but the Texas Rangers have lost 6 in a row and are 3-7 in their last 10. What's your take on all this?
I think the Mariners get in, and I said that a couple weeks ago when we talked about it. Right now, the race is insane. Not only in the American League, but the National League too. The Cubs are only a couple games out of first place in the division, and they're only in a wild card spot by like half a game. And that was yesterday when I looked. I haven't checked today. But like literally, both the American League and the National League are in the same boat right now, and the Cubs and Mariners are in the same boat right now. You know, and I would love nothing more for the Mariners to play the Astros in the first round and get some sweet revenge. Oh, they've struggled against the Astros throughout their franchise, but revenge would be so sweet. There's so many teams right now that can make the postseason. It's unbelievable. The Diamondbacks, a team we didn't mention. I mean, there's literally so many teams that can make the postseason. And I love when things get this tight. And I said that in the beginning of the show too, when we were talking about preseason games and how everything's meaningful in these last 40 games of the regular season, how meaningful they're going to be. I love that. And I'm excited about it. And this is the best time for baseball at this point in the season.
It is. So I think Philly's got the top wild card spot locked, and they're not going to catch the Braves for first in the division. And then whoever comes in second out of the Brew Crew and Cubs, then the Diamondbacks, Reds, Giants, Marlins. Those are the teams that have a chance
That's
for the
insane.
final 2 spots. So the Cubs have a 1-game lead over they're in a playoff spot by 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
The 0.5 you see is over the second wild card spot.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then Cincinnati's a half game out of that spot. So that means the Cubs are a whole game ahead of Cincinnati. So,
yeah, I checked it yesterday. I didn't check it today.
That's awesome. I mean, if the Cubs really keep playing well down the stretch, they could catch Philly for the top wild card spot.
They're winning today, I think.
They just won. It just went final.
Oh, okay.
For those of you listening on Spotify or Apple, this is Wednesday afternoon, and the Cubs just went final against the Detroit Tigers with a big win.
It's a huge win.
Cubs are now 6-4 in their last 10, 66 and 60. Not bad. Not bad for a team that was 7 games under on 4th of July.
It's unbelievable.
Sure is. But we will go into much more detail about that on Crosstown Crosstalk tomorrow. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll probably get kind of mean. I'll talk highly about the Cubs, but I'm going to get mean about the White Sox. Frank, the NFL is oh so close.
The NFL is very, very close. The Ravens' 24-game preseason winning streak came to an end to the Commanders in a nail biter. That was great. See, I felt that preseason game had more on the line. That was a game I was invested in because it just didn't have to do it. Why are you laughing?
Because you're going to sit here and tell me that the Ravens winning 24 straight meaningless games is more exciting to you than watching the development of like a Korchinski or a Bedard.
There was a story to be told. There was a story to be told. I was invested. The Commanders are driving down the field. They need a field goal to like that story. That's storytelling to me. It was great.
You're on crack.
The late heroics of a Joey Sly field goal gave the gave the Commanders a 29-20.
You know their names and shit.
Now that was electric.
That is freaking comedy. You care more about a 24-game winning streak over games that get a franchise nothing.
Correct.
You wanted that streak to live, but you won't watch the Hawks' top prospects play in a preseason game. Oh my God. That is the funniest thing. You just completely invalidated your entire argument before the first period about preseason. That is the single funniest story you've ever told. That you were sitting there. I see you with your popcorn. You probably got a foam finger.
Listen,
too.
I was hoping the streak died. I was hoping that the Commanders won.
Why?
Why not?
Why wouldn't you want to see a streak like that live on and make preseason fun, apparently? Now you'll never care about the preseason Ravens ever again.
Well, I mean, there'll be other stories, right? I like a good headline. That was big. People talk about it. People were invested. That gets the preseason hype. That
is funny. That is funny. The Ravens are like they're a playoff team, but like for the last couple of years they've been a fringe playoff team. But they're undefeated in the preseason.
I'm not a big Ravens fan. I'm a Steelers guy, so it's like
big rival. That's true. That's probably their biggest rival.
Yeah,
second biggest rival.
Who's number one?
I guess it's debatable. It depends who you ask. The Bengals.
I would say it's the Ravens, hands down. Maybe now.
I think so. Ravens became like a playoff division rivalry. Like both teams were good. But the proximity between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati makes it a real natural rivalry too. Same thing with Cleveland. I like that division. I really do like that division. It's a good division. The AFC North. Frank, the NFL is close. My Jaguars are sick. The Bears are looking good. Jags are going to have the best record in the AFC. The Browns are going to make the playoffs. Our predictions are coming soon.
Yeah.
For NFL playoffs. So
and we have a lot of fantasy football drafts coming up.
Yes, we do. I have the 9th pick in the Barroom Network League.
I have 2.
You do have 2. I saw that. Good shit.
I'm excited.
Good shit. Well, Frank, I think it is time that we get into America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Frank, steal the show.
Let's get the graphics. All right, 50% last week. We're hovering. We've been hovering for a while now, which I'm fine. I'll take that. Got 2 picks again for you today. Not a very great slate today, but we'll make do with what we're given. As these games become even more valuable and meaningful, like they are, there'll be even more to dive into. But I'll start off with the Nationals and the Yankees. Got Mackenzie Gore pitching for the Nationals and Severino pitching for the Yankees. This line is a little juiced, but I like the Nationals plus 1.5 at -170. Severino's been terrible all year, other than his perfect game that he threw. Gore is a great pitcher, and his stats would be a lot better if he played on a better team. What?
Severino didn't throw a perfect game.
Who am I thinking of?
The wife abuser, the men who like to hit women.
Oh, not Severino.
Yeah, I was like Severino. No,
What's
but the
his
Yankees
name?
do have a perfect game. What the fuck?
Domingo?
Domingo Germán.
Germán. Yeah. Domingo Germán. Well, Severino's been bad this year anyway. He's got a
horrible
98 ERA.
Disgusting. I couldn't let you get away with giving him a perfect game. He's been so bad.
His whip is 188, which is horrendous. You're almost giving up 2 base runners per inning.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Nationals been playing great ball lately, and the Yankees are up there with the Mets as one of the biggest disappointments of the MLB season this year. I think the Nationals keep this game close or possibly even win it. So Nationals plus 1.5, -170. Line's a little juice, but you make way with what you like. And like I said, the slate's not that great. So we move on to my second pick, which is the Red Sox and the Astros. Sales pitching for the Red Sox, Urquidy. I think is how you say his name, is pitching for the
Urquidy.
Urquidy?
I was just being funny.
Urquidy? I don't know. He's pitching for the Astros. Both these pitchers have been pitching fairly well so far this year. The only problem is that I saw that they don't tend to pitch deep into too many games. You don't know if they're going to pitch 2 innings or if they're going to pitch 5 innings. So with that being said, let's take under 2.5 for the first 3 innings. These are two teams that like to score a lot, but I just don't know how long they'll pitch into these games, and I like them to go through the order about once before the bullpen gets involved. So hopefully they can keep it, low scoring the way they've been pitching through 3 innings. So under 2.5 for the first 3 innings at plus 110. Those are my picks for you.
Very good, Frank. Hopefully you get over 52% finally.
It's tough, VP.
It is tough. Hey, if you're going to be like 50-50 for a while, it's not a bad stretch. It's better than being, a lot of people would sign up for that. Hopefully the wagers that have a little more coin on them are the ones that are winning. Because that's what people fail to remember. If you hit on 40% of your picks, but the 50% are the ones of lower money, or the 60% of the ones are lower money, you technically come out ahead.
Yeah,
you?
Right.
So hopefully Frankie's bets are a little more wise. They're good picks. I can't thank everybody enough for watching our show today. It's been a blast. I love talking hockey, even when there's not much hockey to talk about. And as the weeks go on now, I really think we have one more show of being like where there's no news, because I think we'll probably see Tatar sign soon. We'll probably start hearing rumblings about Patrick Kane's upcoming decision. Who he's going to be, there'll be rumors about who's going to sign him. It might not be till after the season starts, but actually, wee you. Breaking news from Elliot Friedman. New York Rangers and Alexis Lafreniere are closing in on a 2-year extension at $2.3 million.
That's interesting.
Feel bad for Lafreniere.
Do you?
He's probably the 3rd most hyped prospect we've seen in our hockey watching time.
Yeah.
I would go McDavid, Bedard, Lafreniere, Matthews. That is not a ranking of best player in the NHL now. I remember Tony X, the guy from the Blues fanhood that got famous from the Game 7 against the Hawks. He tweeted, who are the most hyped prospects since whatever year? And most people who understand how to read, there were people who ranked Lafreniere last because they think it means like they don't know how to read. It was who was most hyped in their draft year. Lafreniere was probably right behind McDavid until Bedard came along.
Wow.
The Rimouski Oceanic got hella views because of Lafreniere, and he dominated with Canada at the World Juniors. Like, it's crazy that a 2-year deal is at 2.3. Like, his second contract was 8 years at 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
His second contract was 8 years at 8.5. Matthews' second contract was 5 years at 10. McDavid's second year was 8 years at 12. Like, it's crazy how, like, what has happened to Lafreniere. He's on the Rangers, so I'm not going to sit here and say I hope he's amazing. But, I mean, from a human being standpoint, I would like to see him be a little bit better than he's been.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
An interesting way to end the show with a little bit of breaking news there from
Absolutely.
Elliot. Elliot is the dog of the industry right now. I really think so. He puts guys like us to shame. Just kidding. He doesn't. We're good too. Frank, it's been a good show. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
It was a very good show. I hope everybody else enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And make sure you tune in tomorrow at 2:00 to Crosstown Crosstalk. Read all Frankie's shit at apptrigger.com. Read all mine at the what sites. You could just go to my Twitter and find them all. At Vinny Parisi. Follow Frankie at The King Bean. Read Puck Pros for all your latest NHL news. And subscribe to the Barroom Network. Go listen to yesterday's Emergency Southburbs Hitman with Mike North to hear the recap or some instant reaction to the Rick Hahn stuff. And then I'll be doing my thing tomorrow on Crosstown Crosstalk. And make sure you're watching all of the great channels or shows here at the Great Barroom Network. And for Frankie Mueller at The King Bean on Twitter, I'm Vinny Parisi at Vinny Parisi on Twitter. That's our show. As always, thank you for listening.
Thank you.